Welcome to the RNR Dust Stuff podcast where the retro computing, gaming, and hobbies collide.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of R&R Does Stuff. Today, we're going to talk about VCF East, baby. We were there. We had a good time, and we got out just in time. How are you doing today, Rich?
Oh, that was a very pivotal little ending comment you made on your. We won't spoil anything for the folks that are listening to this, and I guess we're going to talk about it at the end. I'm doing great, Ryan. It was such a great trip. I really wish Josiah would have been there. It was so much fun. I felt I am reinvigorated in my retro collecting hobby. I don't know what happened, Ryan. You watched from afar, changed jobs, got busy with robot kids. I was, coaching, and it kind of it limited some of my time, and the coaching season's over. So now I'm back to being, full-time, not with a bunch of robot kids. And I am, I've already jumped on some things, man. I got out there and got some recordings done that were in my log. I'm stoked. Let's talk VCF East because it really is a truly special place.
Oh, it is. And we had some adventures going up to VCF East to get there. So last time, for those that have been following along from home, we had, I live here, we drive. So Rich is in Texas, and he flew into Washington Dulles last time, which is really close to where I live. This time we decided to look at BWI from a flight perspective. It made it more economical, and I got to drive right by it anywhere. BWI is Baltimore Washington International. It is the third airport in the DC metro area. There's one out by me, Washington Dulles. You have Washington Reagan, which is kind of in the center. And then you have BWI, which is outside of Baltimore, south. I believe it's south of Baltimore a little bit. So Rich flew into there. I drove up to meet him, got there just in time. He landed, got out, and I think he had to wait for me 5 minutes or something to figure out.
We were early.
Yeah, you were early.
That was who would have guessed? Flying in 2026, we were early. So Ryan would have been on perfect time. He would have been waiting 5 minutes for me based on his schedule. In this case, I landed early. I was 5 minutes for you. So, hey, you cannot ask for a better start to an event like this, or a trip, or a vacation like this.
Oh, this is great. So, got Rich, threw him in the car, and off we go. Phenomenal. My wife has let me borrow her car again, which was great because it did a lot of self-drive for us, which is phenomenal. And so we're in Baltimore. We, meaning Rich, have said, hey, have you seen this before? Well, this is the B&O Railroad Museum in Baltimore. So, no, I've not been there yet. And it was really close, I think 15, 20 minutes from the airport in the direction we were going. Doesn't get any better than that, right? So the train, it was great.
I'm going to say we could not have picked a better place. It was one of those things that it was closing by 4 p.m. So we had to be back on the road, which is great because we had another 2 hours, right? 2.5 after that?
3 with a charge on top of that.
Okay, so we had 3 hours. So we got there, and folks, the amount of trains they had was incredible. And they have one of those round stations, so it's in a clockwork fashion. They did a time thing. Really old stuff, and you went clockwork wise to not super current, but things that are, more steam engine-y that you probably recognize from movies and westerns. And outside, dude, they had real stuff. They had real new stuff, real 70s things. They had cool trains out there.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think the turntable lined up with the trains inside, so they could move them, I believe, if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And get them in and out. I'm pretty sure the tracks look like they lined up. And they had a lot of stuff outside. We were a little later. They did a daily excursion, I think, but we missed that by a couple hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. But they have a model railroad. They have a dining car set up. They have 2 model railroads. They had one in the train car, and then there was another one inside the building.
Jeez. it was neat the way that you could walk into some of these exhibits and
Yes.
walk through the cars and kind of see it. That's, you know, often we get train museums where you kind of just have to look, but in this case, you really got to go in and see some things. They did a really good layout.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that, being able to go do all that. It wasn't crazy hot either. It was a little on the warm side, but not terrible. So it was like a perfect day to go walk around and, picked up an icy and sat down for a little bit. And
Can't beat that
great.
with that. And it was a great start to you got a little break between driving up, and we got a
Yes.
little bit of a time to get together before we hit the road back north.
Yeah, if you like trains, especially some older stuff we saw what looked like carriages that were horse drawn all the way up to, like later steam engines. So it was a really neat mix of cars. Can't recommend it enough. It was a great place to go.
Larry, they even had a whole Civil War exhibit area about trains in the Civil War. So
Yes,
next
they
time
did.
you're in Baltimore, you need to stop in.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. So we did that, and then we were off on our way.
And Ryan had an excursion that he picked that I just, if Ryan says he wants to go do something, I'm just in. I'm in. I'm just like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to have a good time. And I was like, I don't know what he just picked. I kind of looked online and I was like, where are we going? This looks like a what? We went to, and I'll spoil it, Bell Labs. Tell everybody about what Bell Labs is. If they don't know, I had no clue what Bell Labs was.
All right. Well, Bell Labs, they did a lot of stuff there we read on the walls. But for me, that's where they created C and Unix was created out of Bell Labs. So those are things that I enjoy and like using. And they took the old building and they repurposed it and now call it Bell Works. So we have a link we'll put in the show notes for Bell Works. But so they now take all the stuff and there's the history there, but now they're actually using it also as a local community kind of thing, where like the first floor is feels like a mallish kind of thing, and then the upper floors are very, I don't know, like startups and other tech things and like incubators. So it looks like a really nice mix. But for me, I just wanted to go see the building of Bell Labs, where Unix came from and C came from and all that history.
And then I went effing nuts because this thing was from 1958. It was designed by a modernist architect. And you remember I was kind of talking about it had some very brutalish flavor inside on its setup and all the glass encased facades that it had. I was taking pictures like crazy because I am pretty sure, Ryan, and someone let us know in the link and comments down below or email us. I think that lobby was the exact same lobby it was in 1958 because it was concrete, it was stone, it was, kind of like the area where you would go sit down and you had like a sunken living room for like a lobby area. And that they had to build it that way or do demo and carve that out. And otherwise they would have had to fill it in with concrete to make it flat on top, to where I'm pretty sure that's the way it looked when you were talking about the folks from Bell Labs working there, coming up with all this great innovation. They were in a beautifully modern, inspired space.
Oh yeah, definitely. It looked really cool. I love the space. Obviously they did more than just Unix and C. That's just me. We saw that a wall of the different people that won Nobel Prizes from that worked there was like 7 of them. That's like some uber smart people as far as I'm concerned. I like the art. They got fiber optic and copper wiring out of there, and someone looked like a rug tapestry things made out of that.
Yeah.
When you got close, you saw like these fiber and copper strands with the different colors on them. It was really, really cool.
That was beautiful. To me, it was an optical illusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're 12 feet away. It looks like a rug on a wall.
Loved it.
You get within a foot, you go, oh, those are individual strands of wires. It was cool, man. It took me aside. We had a great time exploring. If you go there, do not try and go to the second, third, fourth, or fifth floor. They're only for the people that are supposed to be there doing work in these tech incubator, really smart areas. Whereas the first floor lobby is a community area. I think the one concierge working one of the front doors told us Saturday they were having a market. So it sounded like people would be selling wares, like maybe cool handmade things, maybe a farmer's market. I don't know. But they definitely do so much community stuff. They had a basketball court in there, people. There was an indoor, full-size basketball court. People were playing basketball while we were walking around just enjoying the architecture and the history.
Yeah, I loved it. And they did things with the local art center. There's a theater in the basement. So they had an art center showing up and doing like shows and stuff. So being in that area would be great. But that was a good experience. I liked the train museum a little better because it was just a little more close. This was really nice how they retook what was there and changed it for what's useful today. And there was all kinds of age range of people just there doing things and enjoying it. Phenomenal. And then we were talking at dinner, and people were talking about Clerks.
And I lost my brain, Ryan. I lost my brain. I started texting the fiance because I was like, you've got to be shitting me.
And it's like, what? And we looked. The original location. Where was it?
Leonard, New Jersey. And this is where the first Clerks was filmed. And I'm sure Clerks 2 probably had some parts of it there. But it was right up the street. And that is one of Sarah's favorite movies, is Clerks. So nice. She was happy for me and mad at me at the same time that we were getting to go to the Clerks official store location that is still open, that you can still go inside. And we took pictures outside. We did a photo shoot. All of us, kind of Ben and Ethan, we all just kind of got up there and took our photos like we were Jay and Silent Bob. And we went inside and bought drinks. And it was neat to see the interior of this space based upon seeing it in the movie. You know how that is. It's always cool to see those locations. And it was not the same, but it was the same format is the only thing I can say. Like, remember we went and paid for stuff? That countertop looks to be the exact same countertop, but with COVID, there's plastic barrier now that's up there. And since the introduction of more little knick-knack things, there's all this stuff on the countertop. Whereas if you watch the movie, it's just a clerk behind the countertop. You maybe buy a lighter, you know what I mean? And there was a cash register. So it still had all the right bones. But it was just a really great time. We sat outside and we all probably talked for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, and just kind of enjoyed the evening.
Yeah, probably was a beautiful night out. It was great. Weather couldn't have been any better. And it was just like a Hail Mary kind of thing of like, yeah, how far is that? Oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah. And we had to drive through the ritziest part of New Jersey, I think that there is. There were some houses, folks, that I was like, I've lost in life. I'm looking at some of these houses. Like,
yeah.
Holy smokes. This place has an elevator in it. It's so awesome. So I don't know if you know the shore. If you know the shore, tell us where we were, but it was incredibly cool. Ryan, we are 15 minutes into this, and we haven't even talked about VCF East. That's how great this trip was going.
Well, it's been a great trip. So those are the side quests that we did for the main quest. We went to VCF East, of course, right? That's the title of the episode. It is in Wall, New Jersey. Had a great time. There was some panels and exhibits and all kinds of stuff. You went to a few more panels than I did. Which one was you? Did you like one more than the other? What did you find interesting?
You know, I call these like TED Talks for, computer people, right? So there's always something interesting. I enjoyed the kickoff Commodore conversation. The new Commodore was sponsored VCF East. in some form or fashion. So not only was Bill Hurd there talking a little bit about Commodore, but Leonard, I got the name off the top of my head. He was there, and they were talking a little bit about what was going on. Perry had a recorded video for the event that played, and that was just neat. It was neat to feel something brand new and fresh happening in vintage computing like this. It's just weird, right? And by the way, they talked about a next product, but they wouldn't say any specifics about what a next product is. So that was good. Nice little teaser built into that. Panel wise, I enjoyed all of them. The podcaster was a good one. The YouTuber, of course, is always great. We saw some other ones, or I bumped into some other ones about, this chip, that chip, but not enough that overshadows Commodore's coming out and talking about the new Commodore. That was just cool.
Yeah, that was pretty neat to be there. They actually raffled off or gave away one of the 64 Ultimates. We unfortunately did not win one, but one of the people in the audience did. They handed us all a little ticket, shook it up, and they pulled it. It was like, oh, that's really cool. So the panels were great. I had a good time with them. And, they're always a good time to learn more stuff. And I like how some stuff Commodore, like the bigger sponsors, some stuff just like some guy wants to figure out, hey, I did this thing, and then show it off. It was great.
Yeah, I'm just going to bookend. One thing that did come up in a lot of the talks was AI and the utilization of AI. And I was really happy to hear the thought processes going on. There was a gentleman who found a bunch of old diskettes and wanted to kind of recreate his older system from back in the day to read these diskettes. Mm-hmm. And he talked about using Claude as an assistant. And Claude would give ideas. And Claude was surfacing information he had never thought of. The project he'd worked on had basically languished for 2 years. January of this year, he said, I want to see if AI can help me finish this project. It was done and ready for VCF East. And that, to me, let's throw vibe coding out the door. Let's throw, I don't know anything out the door. Let's go with the fact of you have a hard project and you have good knowledge. And if you utilize AI in a supportive fashion, it can really make a difference. And that's what he showed. And that's kind of the way I look at AI. I don't look at it as an easy button. I look at it as the assistant. And I felt that came through not only in a couple talks, but then even some of the talks we had on the exhibit floor.
Yeah, I agree. So hopefully, if you're using it as another tool, that's great. If you're just doing a Hail Mary, that's less fun. But
yeah,
it's amazing. It's another tool in the toolbox.
We need to have a conversation one time about AI, because I had a really interesting talk with my future son-in-law about he's studying to be a doctor. And so we had a lot of AI conversation about in the medical industry and, how people are exhibiting it and how we should probably cue something up that way. But I'll digress, everyone. Let's go back to the fun stuff of one of the major things Ryan likes to do is visit one of his best friends at VCF East. Who might that best friend be? And try not to make Jameson upset.
Well, it's Eli Software. I think it's Emporium or something.
I just call him the software guy.
Right. He had a software, software resale or software, he sold retail software or was a distributor or something back in the, I think, 90s or whatever. And he still has a lot of new old stock and brings stuff for different machines. Commodore 64, Amiga, DOS, I saw Macs, Atari STs, all that happy fun stuff. I bought pretty much one of all the Amiga stuff that I saw.
We filled Ryan's compact car up full of software, folks.
Yeah. So I might have bought a little bit of software, but I always enjoy going to see it. It's reasonably priced. And where else are you gonna go find new old stock? I mean, it's in shrink wrap and
shrink-wrapped mother truckers. It's amazing.
Yes, it's great. Just looking through it and going, one of them was like, oh God, I looked it up and it's like, the rating of this game is so terrible. I Sure, let's see how it plays. But
That's
and I
right. You
haven't
two
done it
talked about that. He even brought something up, and you were like, "Yeah, I already know. I already know it's
Yeah.
a terrible game. I'm buying it for the terrible game experience." And he's like, "Great. Where's my $2?"
Right. Yeah, it's just like okay, it's just something different. So I picked up a lot of software there. I know you got a couple things. I think I got like 14 titles.
I got 3, I think, maybe 4. Hunter Red October, DEF CON 5. I bought a spreadsheet program.
Right.
Because I do my budgeting on my Commodore. And I was like,
Yep.
oh, let me try this new one. Maybe it's better. I don't know. But yes, I just picked up a few things like that.
He had a lot of 64 stuff. He had an amazing amount of 64 stuff I saw. But that was always fun to go see. I don't know why. That's just one of the things I just enjoy doing and picking stuff up. So, you know?
I do, and I know I like to go check out as many of the little fun things that go on. The museum got relayed out,
Yes.
so not a
It
bunch of new stuff. I think there was like 1 or 2 new things, but they kind of changed the layout, so that was fun to see. The way they kind of reconfigured it. I
Yes.
also snuck to go see the Apple One demo, and I think maybe you showed up behind me, but the room was so packed you backed out. Was that kind of right?
Yeah, it was in the front lobby.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really in its own room. It was kind of in a front lobby, and it really filled up a lot of space up there when they were
And
doing
I'm
it.
not trying to be rude, but maybe not the best place. Honestly, it wasn't. Nothing's perfect, but you're right. Maybe it wasn't the best place, but it was a cool demo. The guy had an Apple One, like the Apple One, not a recreation, not a rebuild, but it had like the big blue capacitors. I think they call them big blues or something.
Yeah.
And the guy had such a good story that if you ever get to see the Apple One demo, and I'm sure he goes around to different VCFs and different things, go through it. He has crafted a beautiful story to take what could be 4 minutes, put a power in, flip the switch, type command to load from tape, and you got DOS, right? That's a 4-minute operation, 5. And he turns it into a 20-minute story. And the story even brings up things that were wrong in the initial build and how you can tell with an original Apple One board, you're going to get this weird artifacting happening because technically it was done wrong. And, it was just neat to listen to, and it was neat to see a bit of history. I did bail out after it turned on and we saw DOS because I wanted to go do some other things. But I really enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. And some of those other things was catching up with you to go to one of our favorite places at VCF East.
Oh, you mean consignment?
Consignment store. The Valhalla of retro computing things. I really like the way VCF East does it. I just did a recap on Midwest. They do the auction to raise their funds.
Sure.
And at Southwest, people are just selling in their booths. But it's really neat to go into one room and everything that you're able to sell is in there. And of course, proceeds. Some of that does help and you've unloaded some things there in the past. What did you think about this layout this year?
It was interesting. I liked it was bigger, and just bigger so stuff was spread out. We got in a little later than normal. We were just like, yeah, whatever. If it's not there, it wasn't meant to be, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with that. Let me tell you, I liked being able to spread out and go up and down the rows and all that goodness. That turned out pretty well. I mean,
not perfect, of course, but it was better than the last time. And last time was better than the other last time. To where it just keeps getting better the way they're kind of laying out the consignment store. I was very happy with the layout, and I didn't feel like I was butt to chest with everybody.
No, I didn't either. I mean, we weren't there when they, rope drop / doors open either, but which was fine. And they had a new thing. They had like a couple higher end machines. They had like a silent auction-y or whatever. I have no idea how that turned out, but
all I saw was they will contact the first person when the auction's over and they have 30 minutes, and then they're going to move to the next person.
Right.
And that's all I saw. I don't know when they were going to call people. I don't know, because what if you left early? Oh, by the way, in the consignment store, I ran into Bill Pelton, and I think I can say his name. He sells online through the Facebook Commodore group, and I've bought from Bill. We're sitting there just kind of BSing about a +4. And all of a sudden he goes, yeah, I kind of do a thing where I buy these older ones, I recap them, I get them ready for people, I sell them online. I have a pretty good reputation. And I went, are you Bill Pelton? And he goes, I am Bill Pelton. And I was just like, I just took a chance. So you never know what you're going to find in the consignment store. I found Bill.
That's great. I think you got one of your first 64s from him.
Yes, I did. I got one of my first 64s and my SD IDC. I didn't want to make one for the, having a emulated disk drive, and he was selling them. And I was like, hell yeah, sell me one, Bill. So he's been really good. And I've talked to him over the years, just kind of here and there about different things. When I was trying to hunt down a 128, we had a conversation about what he had in stock. I didn't bite with anything he had. His prices are very reasonable, but they're I'm going to say retail. I mean, I know it sounds weird, right? They're retail pricing. I mean, he puts work into them. And, I found the 128 in the barn find. So I'm happy. That 128 from the barn find is like cherry.
No, I get it, because that's, plugging myself here. At some point, I have this Amiga 2000 I'm restoring behind me that I am going to try to sell at some point.
And you should sell it at retail, because you have recapped the whole damn thing. You've cleaned the whole damn thing. You've tested the whole damn thing. And that's kind of what Bill will do. And for me, that was great when I jumped into the hobby, because I didn't want to have to work on things. After I had one, I did start buying junky ones from Craigslist, and I bought junky ones from Salvation Army for me to work on. But, that was it. But I did find something at the consignment store, folks.
What'd you pick
up? A Dell laptop. Rich, why'd you buy a Dell laptop? That's PC. What are you doing, Rich? You have maybe heard me talk about on this channel, podcast.
Whatever.
I don't know what the hell this is. About in the past creating a Commodore 64 laptop and emulating the idea of one of those writing devices that they sell nowadays that doesn't do the internet. It doesn't have email. You can't go to the web. When you sit down to use this writing device, you write. That's what it's for. And so I've got bare metal chassis going. I've got a monitor. I've got all the right things. I needed something to house it in. And this old school, what would you say, 1980s Dell laptop? Would you say 80s?
Maybe I'm going to bet early 90s.
Early 90s. You're right. Early 90s. You are exactly right. Early 90s. So it's thick. Everything's thick about it. It doesn't work. It was $25, $15. How much was it, Ryan? You got me you found it for me. I had something else that was like expensive, like $50, and you found this one for like half the price. I think it was $25.
I think it was 25.
Yeah, not working, so I can gut it, and I can put my innards of my C64 laptop in it. And when I sit on my laptop, or I sit on my couch, I can now program and have no distractions. So I'm really excited about that.
I mean, you don't want to use your SX64 on the couch?
No.
You sure? Because that's kind of a laptop-y thing, right?
That would be kind of like a laptop. I think my lap isn't big enough for that. That is still it's a luggable. I'm going to call it luggable. But I love my SX64.
It's 100% a luggable. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, that's crazy.
That's awesome. Anything I'm sorry, Ryan. What did you say?
I said it's great that you found it, and I want to really see what that project turns into.
All about it.
I'm looking forward to it. I picked up, but wait, more Amiga games? What was I thinking?
No, I know. I'm like, everyone's going to be like, dude, you bought more games? Seriously? But dude, it was a great price, and it was bags of them. What was in there?
There was, I think there's about 8 games, 3 in box, 3 loose. I guess the other ones were loose, just like the discs and a couple of manuals and things. And then in a second box of, what are they? Cover discs, cover floppies from like different Amiga magazines.
Oh, that's cool. And by the way, Ryan, I'm glad you grabbed it, because while you were digging through it, the guy beside you was also the guy beside us at Eli's software sales warehouse,
Yep.
where if you would have not bought that, it was gone in 13 seconds.
I bet it was, actually.
It would have been gone in seconds. So yeah, you got a good deal on that. And that was more stuff to add to the collection. And as we talk about AI, I watched Ryan looking through his spreadsheets about things he owns and things he keeps a nice little log. And I just had this brainstorm. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to send pictures to Claude and make Claude make my own spreadsheets. And that's what I've started doing. So those at home, if you've been putting off making your spreadsheets, go to your AI companion and just feed it photos and tell it to make your spreadsheet. It's so nice. I don't have to do any work. It just does it for me. Everyone's going to come back at me on this and say, Rich, you are an AI homer, but I'm making it work for me.
I mean, you're all in on this AI thing.
I am. But you know what AI can't do? It can't get me an IMSI with every single component that was made for it to be purchased at the consignment shop. Did you see that one in the corner?
I did. It was crazy. There was, the main machine had a whole bunch of boards inside of it, external floppies, and ahead of a stack of like 8-inch discs.
At the printer, and it had a terminal monitor. It was ready to go. It was a one-stop shop.
Oh, why didn't you get it, Rich?
It was $7,000.
It's fine.
No, that's not fine. That's not fine. I can't afford $7,000. And hell, I want to say we've seen just the base unit, the box, going for $800, $1,000, dude. I want to say we've seen. Was it more than that? No, I don't.
It might have been. All this stuff fluctuates so much. I don't know if it's sold or not. That's unclear to me. That might have been a wishful thinking price. I don't know, but there can't be many of them out there. And I don't know. That's like a real collector-y kind of price.
Hell yeah. It was definitely a complete. Okay, no, I lied. I just did a really quick. Someone selling pre-owned 4,000, someone selling one pre-owned 3,000. So when I said 1,000 in my head, I was thinking 3,000. So just think about that. People are selling a pre-owned one for $3,000. You spend another 3 something, and you've got the whole kit and caboodle. It was pretty amazing, dude. I was floored that it was even there and available, and that wasn't the only IMSI we saw in the consignment store. That was one.
That was one. I think there were 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was an Altair as well, I believe.
It's nuts, dude. It truly is nuts. Ryan, this episode's gone longer than normal. Do you have any retro updates from since VCF that you've done?
Nothing for here. We'll hint it at the next episode. I got to talk about this Amiga 2000 a little bit behind me. And I've been doing a little bit more on A-Mail. Gee, surprise. So we'll talk about those in a future episode.
Good. And I'm going to come back with, as I was using Claude to create my inventory, I found I had a Commodore book, Commodore Computers, Intro to Basic Programming Book 1. I'm taking it with me on my trip next week, and in the evenings, I'll be using it and going through its basic adventure and seeing what I can learn more about basic programming. So I'll have some to report on that, and maybe a few other things. We'll see when we get together and when I'm back in town.
Sounds great. Well, enjoy your trip, and we'll see you guys all next time.
Bye, everyone.